Hi, look at this cup. Is this half full or half empty? Now, this is a question, a cliche you've all heard before. A half full cup would be an optimistic approach, which you see the best in things, and a half empty cup would be a pessimistic approach, where you would see the worst, see what you don't have. And like I said, this is a question that you've all heard before. You may have your own views on it, and the question is about optimism, about mindset. How do you view the world? And although it has been overused, and you've heard why you should be optimistic probably millions of times, I hope to give you today a different perspective on why you should be optimistic and how it does actually affect you. And objecting to this is, who cares? It's just a mindset. I have my own ability, and it doesn't really matter what I do. Well, and I will hopefully today I'll get to prove you wrong, and that the mindset you have will affect how you behave. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing I want you to know is that optimism actually gives you the motivation to keep trying. It affects how you respond to stressors and your goals. It found that for things you could control, optimists had more of a problem-focused coping method, which means that they were simply willing to try to change their situation. They were willing to act with the problem itself and focus on it head on. They were found to not quit as easily, and when it combined with when their optimism combined with the ability to do something, it created a drive, an ability for them to want to change. In addition to this, when they couldn't change the situation, when they had uncontrollable events, people who were optimistic had easier acceptance of how things were and were able to move on better. They were able to rewire the brain and think on the bright side of harder situations. On the flip side of this is pessimism. Pessimists had a tendency to ignore or deny the problem at hand, and ignoring it would lead to a lot of more mental problems and wouldn't deal with the problem head on. And an optimist, on the other hand, would see the setback as temporary. This is only one setback. Something good's going to happen eventually, and they would put a positive spin on what they had. So this mentality is actually really important because it actually affects how successful you will be. And optimists were found to be more successful in what they did for those very reasons. One study was done on law students who were graduates in graduate school, and they found that the ability of optimists and pessimists actually was not too different during law school. They did perform similarly well, but they checked back a decade later, and they found that those who were optimistic had higher salaries than pessimists by a substantial margin. And the reason for this, it seems to be, was based on their drive, because they both did just as well in graduate school, meaning they both had the same capability, but rather it's the drive they had to keep going, to keep trying to go higher. That's what gave them the higher salaries. And on top of this, another study was done with undergraduate students. It found that 15% of optimists were willing to drop out after a year or so, but the number for pessimists was double that, 30%. So it found that those who were optimistic, because they had that drive to keep going, were able to be more successful later on. So the mentality they had actually did have an effect on their success. Another point is that optimism helps you socially as well. It helps you not only in your job success, but in your social relationships. Optimists were found to have larger social groups and a higher satisfaction from their friends. And this is mostly because people just want to be around other people that are positive. If you think with your friends, you don't want to be around people who are gloomy or have a bad day, but the people that make you feel the best are the people that are happy, the people that are joyful to see you. In fact, their social interactions are found to have more positivity overall when it was with optimists, because they had such positive interactions in general. Another thing is that it helps with romantic relationships. It was found that optimists were able to have overall higher relationship satisfaction. This was because they didn't have to have things completely perfect, and they were willing to work with their partners on issues they had. Whenever they would fight, they had more engagement to try to fix the issue itself. And over a year, it was found that they had a less decline of marital happiness and stability overall than people who were pessimistic. So, in conclusion, I gave you a couple of reasons why optimism could be helpful, and it all stems from the drive. When you have the means to be able to change your situation, optimists were found to have more control and to try harder, and when they couldn't, they were found to be more accepting. Optimists are found to be more successful, both in their relationships with people and then with their jobs. Now, with all these set before you, why would you want to go the other way? Why would anybody want to be negative? It might be easier, but it certainly doesn't pay off in the long run. And if you just have the choice, if it's as simple as just changing your mindset, why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want to be more successful? And 20 years from now, you're looking back, it won't matter if you had a bad day or not, but having that mental attitude, the mental change of optimism, if it means having a more successful life, isn't that worth having? So next time you see yourself in a stressful situation or down or worried about the future or how something came, I encourage you, although it may be hard, try to have an optimistic mindset. It might just help you to pick yourself up and to keep going. Thank you.